might be a quick defeat unless things can get turned around. So we'll hop into XeNoN Wastes and see if that can happen.
So, spawning down in the bottom right position of XeNoN Wastes, we have got the TL Protoss player from Team Property, currently 1-0 up in this best of 3. We have RunA.
And by teal, we mean pink.
Pink? Is it actually pink?
Dude.
I'm genuinely colourblind, by the way.
Oh.
I really struggle to tell
right.
pink. And also,
You never told me that.
Have I never?
No.
It's also because the angle I'm looking at the screen.
That's true, like you are a bit of an odd angle. If anyone wondering, by the way, despite our best efforts, we're not actually in a professional studio at the moment.
No.
We are in my living room. I think I've done quite a good job.
It's a makeshift. We've got lights, we've got a green screen,
yep.
We've got a massive great monitor, mic, pop shield. We've got about 8 different screens in front of us.
It's true, we need all the screens, man.
Yeah. But anyway.
We're playing against a Zerg player.
I know, we need all the screens.
Yep. And this Zerg player is so big, he takes a screen up all to himself, at least for this portion of the game, representing Team Awesome Gaming. The attack didn't work last game. Can he get something to work this time around, though, as the spawning pool goes down? We'll find out, ladies and gentlemen. It is XeNoN.
Who went for a very, well, not a very early pull, but earlier pull than the last game. He did go pull first, as opposed to hatch first.
Yep.
And that just means that he's being a little bit safer. RunA scouted it out, though, so not too much to worry about. You can get forward fast expansions on this map, but RunA just going to be going for a Nexus first build, most likely. Or actually not now. He has queued up something down on the low ground. I don't quite know what yet, but this probe is going to do a nice little job of blocking it down the hatchery. Forge has got started too. Does RunA have some shenanigans up his sleeve? We'll have to wait and see.
He will indeed, man. This probe is being as annoying as it physically can be right now. XeNoN just not able to get the hatch down to save his life there. Finally goes down. Oh! And gets put down a hex too far to the right. Has to get immediately cancelled, put down again. XeNoN will not be liking that one bit. 75 minerals. He did not want to have to waste that early on. And indeed, we have got the Nexus going. And the Forge, though, is there, is completing as well. So RunA opting that nice safe wall off. The cannon going down immediately as well. Not risking a gateway beforehand. So I'd say things are on the cautious side, but definitely very standard for our players this game.
Both players being cautious, though. So
yeah.
it levels out there. And XeNoN, he's coming out, he's going to force back the probe, he needs to make sure no proxies come down, but this is definitely going to be mid-game strategies. RunA has got some nice little options coming through here. By going Forge first, you've always got in the back of your mind the option of, okay, I can get down a really fast +1 ground weapons. We could also see things like a Stargate come down, because let's face it, there's a lot of dead space on XeNoN Wastes. Oracles can be super powerful.
Oh,
so
definitely.
All good options that RunA's got available to him. XeNoN, Swarm Host, Roach Hydra, good options, both of them really effective. So I'd say those are the 2 big bets I'd run with.
And RunA doing a good job with this probe, actually seeing the timing of the 3rd hatchery from XeNoN as well. Will that prompt him into doing anything that's even vaguely offensive here? He sees the hatch timing. Can he make a use of it, though? XeNoN going to be sending an Overlord in at the moment. Just going to try and scout out if there's any hidden tech on the high ground, which there isn't. It's just a barren wasteland at the moment. He's just droning up back at home. He's going to want to get onto as many drones as possible on that 3-base economy before he really, ideally, wants to start pumping out units like there's no tomorrow. That changes, of course, if he sees an incoming attack from RunA, but nothing yet.
No, nothing yet. RunA, he's just going pretty standard, to be fair. The Cybercore is just finishing up, so this is where we will get to see some kind of indicator of tech. He does have a bit of gas banked up, but he's pumping that straight into a sentry and warp gate tech. What he does with the next bit of gas is going to be really critical, and it's +1 coming down. So +1 just means that he's not going to be committing most likely to a Stargate, and is instead just going to probably get down a robotics facility quite early on.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty safe bet here. I mean, with that +1, I suppose you can conceivably go for gateway pressure as well, but we tend to be seeing that less and less these days. I wouldn't be surprised to see that robo come down very, very soon indeed. Let's see what he does with a bit of additional gas. We've got now the gases, speaking of them, getting put down in the main base for XeNoN here. We can see none in the natural so far, and we're starting to get droned up at the 3rd base. Queen already there for the injects.
Now, when you're sitting here, when you're waiting in a position as a Zerg, looking at this wall off from RunA, at some point in about the next minute or so, that Overlord sitting outside the main base has got to go and sacrifice itself in. XeNoN needs to identify what kind of build is coming down, what tech is there, because if he doesn't, he's going to be playing blind, and that's not what you want to be doing. It's an additional 3 gateways for the moment. 4
Yeah, it might.
No robotic facility. This is going to be gateway pressure with the
It is
mothership
gateway
core.
pressure. So we don't see gateway to pressure as often as we do the robotics facility, as we mentioned just now, in the current metagame. But that doesn't mean it's not viable. We're going up to 5 gateways as it currently stands. I wonder if we'll see any more pop down from him as well. Meanwhile, the mothership core has been in and out. He's going to be popping in, and wow, all the things coming down. Another Forge and a Twilight Council coming down simultaneously here. So this could be a very, very strong +2 Blink Stalker play.
It could be, and it worked really effectively actually against Zerg, especially if you catch them slightly off guard. The key thing that XeNoN needs if he wants to easily defend this is to get some Hydras out. If he gets a Hydra den, he'll be in a really comfortable spot to cope with this, but if he doesn't, he could run into some problems. The lair is already 2/3 done down to the natural base, but what's going to come out from this Twilight Council? Will it be Blink? Most probably. Other than that, there's not too many other options he can go for. You could potentially try and get out DTs, but it's a bit late to make that really have much effect. And yeah, it's probably just going to be, well, it may just even be for +2.
It might be. I mean, he's going for the +1 ground armor as well, so he isn't sinking gas immediately into any tech from the Twilight Council. He's actually just using this for double upgrades from the Forge and constantly reinforcing his sentries now with additional gateway units. So it doesn't look like it's going to be Blink. We just have a lot of Zealots and definitely a lot of sentries moving out across the map right now. They're going to walk straight into these Zerglings, and a couple of good force fields might mean that they all die off. Does get a sentry as compensation there. But anything that XeNoN wanted to do with this run by is now no longer a viable option.
Yeah, there's a Spire coming down as well for XeNoN, which is really not what he wants because he's only got Zerglings to defend against this at the moment. And that means that if RunA just pumps out a lot of Zealots, he's going to be in a great spot. And he's got, the Spire's only half done as well. It's going to be so long until Mutalisk come out as a threat. So if RunA's able to push in and is actually aggressive in the near future, he's going to be in an amazing position. But if he waits too long and Mutas come out, he's got very little anti-air and this will get shut down quite easily.
Oh, and like you said, another 8 Zealots have now joined this force now, so all of a sudden those Lings do not look nearly as scary as they did before. Trying to bait a couple of force fields, unable to do so. Are these Zealots just going to walk straight into the third base? I feel he has to, because all XeNoN wants to do right now is buy time. The Spire's more or less done now. Ooh, missing that single force field, meaning that the Lings can stream in, but they're not streaming in very quickly. They are only basically coming in single file, and that means the Zealots just line up to absolutely kick them into next week. Essentially, the Mothership Core now are going to tickle all of the drones here at the third base location. That doesn't stand much chance of surviving, but 14 Mutalisks are about to pop, and that is going to change the tide of battle immensely. There is no mass recall.
That's the thing which is going to cause such a problem to RunA. Without that mass recall, these units are now sacrificed. They cannot get away. That is for sure. What really they need to do is just try and focus down this hatchery and cut the losses, get himself in a good position to defend against the counter-attack.
These Zealots, they're not focusing down the hatch yet. I mean, there are still 5 of them here, but right now they're attacking the queen. Okay, now... No! This Metals. I mean, he is going into the natural and the main as well, but that hatch surviving is really, really frustrating.
I don't want to criticize, but that hatch should have died.
Yeah, definitely should have died, because at the end of the day, yes, it's a hatch on a couple of hit points, it's not that great, and he got extra drone kills for it, that's absolutely right. But you know what an extra hatch is? It's an extra inject and an extra 7 drones at a time that he could remake, so those drones aren't really worth it. I'd much rather have the hatchery killed off. Yeah. And the second thing I want to point out is that time warp from RunA is what caused him to not have the mass recall. Imagine he came in here, sniped off the hatch with everything he had, or even if he didn't snipe off the hatch, just mass recall and start pumping stalkers. He has a Twilight Council already, could have started Blink as well. That might have been quite useful. But now, without that mass recall, without taking the hatch down and losing his army, RunA's in a really tough spot here.
He is, and these Mutas, there's actually quite a sizable chunk of them. Getting to that critical mass where it's going to be a nightmare to try and stop. Yes, there are some Phoenix out, but with only 2 there and a handful of Stalkers, if XeNoN micros well, he can take out those Phoenix if there's a misstep by RunA. And once they go down, it's going to be really difficult for RunA to do much. And now with the Speedlings streaming in too, the Stalkers aren't going to be an adequate defense. The Phoenix are going to have to try and do more, but this push is going to hit so hard. And RunA just doesn't really have enough stuff to try and stop these Mutas.
Oh, and the Mutas just engaging directly onto the Stalkers and the Cannon as well, deciding to retreat for the time being, interestingly. And oh, that's the Phoenix is getting caught just a little bit off guard there as XeNoN moves back. His supply is currently 104 to the 93 of RunA. Also, this Nexus is completely fine, but not mining at the moment as well. The work supply is 45 to 59 in RunA's favor, but don't forget, that third hatch is now starting to get injected. He's going to be able to really ramp up his production here. I don't think XeNoN should be making nothing other than Lings and Mutas at the moment, though. He really needs to get at least one round of drones in if he wants to keep the continuity alive here.
It's going to be really tough. Okay, XeNoN, he's got to do some damage now. That's the big thing. He's got to start pushing in, trying to shut down this army, prevent RunA utilizing that third base, and he's doing the right thing, but the Phoenix count is starting to get so high that the Mutas just can't trade effectively with them. The Fleet Beacon's also coming down, and Pulse Crystals will get started. It becomes easy micro, in all honesty. And I can't help but feel XeNoN missed somewhat of an opportunity to win the game.
I think he might have done there, really. At the end of the day, we typically see like a couple of Corruptors come out as well, of course, higher range and those Mutalisks are able to help out a little bit. And the Phoenix is coming in on picking off Queens as well is going to be super annoying. But I think the Mutas might have something to say about that. Yeah, the Phoenix is a little bit wary about picking up that Queen, because there are enough Mutas here that if they get into range, those Phoenixes will fall very quickly. It's the micro that really makes these Phoenixes superior units at the moment, thanks to their range. So, and with the Anion Pulse Crystals nearly complete as well at the Fleet Beacon, that's just going to make them all the more annoying against these Mutas. And if XeNoN continues to produce nothing but, then I really fear for him after the upgrade is finished from RunA.
Yeah, he's still producing more Mutas too, and that's the problem. That's my real big concern, is that the sheer Phoenix count is getting sky high, and there's so much resources invested in that Mutalistic block that if it goes down, big problems will ensure. There's the Anion Pulse Crystal done, but the Queen's actually helping out quite considerably to force them back, plus Hydra's on the way down. These Phoenix are going to need some support.
Hydras are a very, very good choice from XeNoN right now. The Mutas definitely need some support in the air because RunA is just microing back like an absolute champ. These Phoenixes are really giving XeNoN a lot of grief, picking up our units here and there, and that Anion Pulse Crystals upgrade is seriously going to help him out as well. One Phoenix going down, but so much damage done. If we take a look at the resources lost tab, XeNoN has lost so much more, and he needs to find a way to push these Phoenixes back pretty much permanently, and I think those Hydras and Queens are going to be the answer here.
But at the same time, we've got High Templar coming out, Storm being researched, plus 3 Protoss ground armor and weapons on their way. This is RunA really utilizing 3 base Protoss, where you just start getting so far ahead, you get such a good economy, that once you contain your opponent, you can really cause them problems. Storm, that's going to be what could ruin this Zerg player's day. A couple of good Storms on the Hydras and Mutas, boom, they're gone.
That's very true, actually. These Hydras, only 80 hit points, of course, which is barely above twice that of a Zergling. So, incredibly squishy, this army composition from XeNoN at the moment. Potentially very high DPS, but that doesn't do anything if you can't get to within the army you're trying to attack in the first place. And that's what Storm is great for, trying to zone these things out. So once again, like with the Phoenixes, RunA has to depend on his micro, but this time with his Dark Templars.
So,
Dark Templars?
High Templars.
High Templars.
High Templars, definitely. Imagine if Dark Templars could storm. That'd be
Dude,
terrible.
if Dark Templars could storm, I'd quit.
Just leave the game.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we see here though, Hydras, they are pushing in. They're going to knock and start moving forward. But they'll be moving into a choke. Storm is done. There's a lot of High Templar with energy there. If XeNoN gets into a choke, Storms will ruin him. And this is what we're going to start seeing. Storms are going down. The Mutas are taking lots of damage.
That storm on the Mutas is so huge, I cannot even begin to explain how redonkulous that was. And now we have the Gateway Army moving in as well. XeNoN falling apart at the seams here after such a great start to this game, Metals.
Storm really was the problem for him now. That storm hit exactly where he'd wanted to.
First storm moved the Hydras into the Mutas. Second storm, nothing moved. Hydras and the Mutas completely decimated, mate.
And this is now where GG's going to be called. And I can't blame XeNoN for that because he was in a really tough spot. Those storms, just so strong.